This is Boomer Life on CL 650.
And welcome back. You're listening to Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. Today we're speaking with Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group Financial Services, Inc. And as we start the new year, are you where you want to be financially? If not, I would like to encourage you to take the first steps to change that. So Jim, you hold the Certified Financial Planner designation with additional designations as a Chartered Life Underwriter, a registered trust and estate practitioner, a certified divorce financial analyst, a certified international wealth manager, and you're also a graduate of the UBC Sauder School of Business Family Enterprise Advisor Program. Well, that's a lot of practical experience that you bring to the table. Whether you're retired or you're going to be soon, retirement planning is likely to play a big part in the financial choices that you'll be facing. I get a sense that many of us are not well prepared as we shift from the strategies we use to build wealth to using those same assets to generate secure income streams. Jim, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, Joanne, retirement-focused investors are increasingly attuned to the pressing need to recreate paychecks with retirement long, secure income streams, but most seem woefully unprepared to fund such streams.
Well, do you feel it's a question of resources or perspective?
Maybe a bit of both. Even the relatively affluent remain unprepared to fund such streams. So let me give you a story here if I can. You know, according to the latest BlackRock Pulse survey, now maybe this is just an American thing, Americans aged 55 to 64 with $250,000 in investable assets want to have an average income of $59,000 a year in retirement income. But the savings they've accumulated, which is about $567,000 on average, might only generate about $37,800 a year in annual income. That leaves an annual gap of $21,800. I think this leads to some essential advisor-client conversations for 2016.
I think you're right. But this seems like a bit of an alarming retirement statistic. With such a gap like that, I can see why clients should be speaking with their advisors about the tangible things that they can actually do to address this.
But it all begins, of course, with good dialogue that engages the client, compels focus, and sets the necessary course.
Well, in the spirit of good dialogue, what would you like these conversations to sound like?
I believe we could start with at least 3 that could benefit the investor if explored. Is your portfolio still aligned with the goals that are most important to you? What level of investment risk should you adopt to reach your goals? And of course, what else can you do to keep you on track towards a satisfying and secure retirement?
Well, let's start with the leader in that conversation. And could you clarify what you mean by, is your portfolio still aligned with your goals?
Absolutely. You know, commodities are coming off their worst year since 2008. Oil, which touched $117 a barrel in June of last year, was recently at $34 a barrel. And I know there's a few of you out there who'd love to know when is the best time to get back in. Interest rates and volatility are set to rise, with market returns likely to be more moderate in 2016. And the investment landscape going forward is probably going to be quite different. 2015 has certainly laid some groundwork for some interesting crosswinds in the year ahead. With that as a backdrop, you know, if you're Warren Buffett or Jeremy Siegel, you probably want to consider holding stocks for the long haul. If you're the typical investor, however, do you throw out your investment picking tools out the window, or do you become focused on following a well-written financial plan? I believe your investment selection should be guided by your goals and a plan to help you meet them.
Well, Jim, I know you're reluctant to talk about near-term markets directions because you believe people already spend too much effort focusing on that immediate gratification to make their long-term plans. What's one consequence of focusing too much on those immediate investments, short-term performance, rather than like the overall plan?
Yeah. Stagnant markets make for restless clients. When investors are unhappy, their attention invariably turns to alternatives. Now, this is probably good for me, but I think clients appreciate their advisors most when their investments are making money or when their advisor walks them through a crisis. This year, more will question whether they're getting their money's worth.
Well, I think I'm hearing through the media, of course, some predictions of more modest or listless return potentials for this year. How do you help clients prepare for things like this? I don't want to be all doom and gloom, but...
Well, it's a fair comment, okay? This changing investment landscape is likely to demand even more deliberate evaluation of investment fundamentals and careful asset allocation. It will reinforce the need to reassess portfolios, proper alignment, and such key tactical goals as income generation with minimal volatility, as well as long-term objectives. And of course, this is where your personal goals come in.
So where do you take these conversations if we start with the perspective that even in ideal client relationships, you're starting that conversation with a stranger?
Valid point.
Well, no, really. How do you engage a person or a couple in any situation or environment? It's probably not an easy thing to do, but you want to engage them in a way that inspires them to want to talk to you again without coming across like some schmarmy financial person just trolling for business.
I know every client relationship is different, but some of the principles are the same. The skill to ask the right questions, listening with empathy, hearing what's most important or meaningful, significant, and compelling to them, and then being able to make some sort of an offer that's going to help them take the first steps that are relevant to them.
Well, given all of the demands on people's time and all their options for getting financial education, information, advice, and products, how do you inspire people, both spouses, to come to your office with all of their financial documents, with everything in order?
That's a good point. You know, everything we say is gauged by a trust dial. Everything we say and do moves that needle on the trust dial one way or the other. I believe people want to be heard, understood, and not sold to. So our first meeting is an opportunity to see if we might be able to work together. And if it's not the right fit for either of us, that's okay. But it's best to know early on.
Well, it's all great information, just basically starting with the basics. So when they come to see you, what will you do for them that's valuable, whether they become a client or not?
At our first meeting, I want to talk to each spouse about their personal core values. I find great peace from this approach, and I borrowed a lot of this from Bill Bacharach in his book, Values-Based Financial Planning. Core values are the emotional why that drives all of their important decisions. I think most advisors are a little quick to ask about goals, needs, or wants without laying an emotional foundation of why people want what they want. I think the why should always precede the what.
I find that very interesting. Could you actually give us a few ideas on how you might see values defined?
Yeah, I'd like to. I think values are represented by words like security, pride, independence, freedom, providing for family, making a difference in other people's lives, satisfaction, inner peace, or happiness.
Now that we have a sense of how important values are, how does that fit in with goals?
Well, if I could offer it this way, I think values are more about being, while goals are about doing and having. Goals also have the tangible, what they want to build on the foundation of their values. The better you understand your own personal values, the more powerful and meaning any financial plan or strategy will create is going to be.
We're all motivated by something, life's emotional payoff, so be it. It's finding that something. That's what I think advisors should be getting to know about the clients that they work with. So what I'm hearing from you is that personal values, not the personal goals, are actually the required starting point.
They're the foundation or bedrock for a sound financial plan. If you're driven by the why, it's likely you'll be more motivated to act. In short, it'll make any resulting financial plan have more meaning and move you to action more effectively than anything else. In essence, emotional power.
Well, Jim, I do think your approach is a lot different than most planners, which starts with an assessment of goals. Don't get me wrong, although important, goals simply don't provide you with the big picture.
I'm no different than most people. We value people who can simplify our lives and save us time. And financial planning is no different. We want to manage the flow and help people so they can make a good decision about hiring me to be their financial advisor today. Succinctly articulating our value promise and answering two simple questions. How much does it cost and what do I get can help create the confidence to move forward.
Well, if you're like me, you'll want to start the new year on the right foot financially. And there's never a better time to rediscover the confidence in your financial outlook. So if you count yourself amongst those feeling a little apprehensive about your financial future, maybe it's time to give Jim a phone call. Here's his number, 604-682-5431. I'm Joanne Sutton. Today we've been speaking with Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group. And to learn how Jim can actually help with your financial situation, simply give him a call. Toll free, 1-800-665-7178, or again locally at 604-682-5431. Parents, values, family, and money. The conversation continues in a moment on Boomer Life on CL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.